So he was talking about the like the amount of dudes that we've been benching just in random games. Before it was first it was Jason Tatum, then it was Joel Embiid, and now it was, I believe, Drew Holiday in the last game.
The talk of Team USA has been what? The playing time, the substitution. With Jason Tatum and Tyrese Halliburton not playing a single minute in game one, you just don't not play Jason Tatum in game one of the Olympics. Like I said to JT, no, when you win a gold medal, no one cares who scored the points. No one cares who played the minute. Did you win a gold medal or did you not? That's what it boils down to. However, you don't not play Jason Tatum. That man just won NBA championship.
Although I do feel, I understand where he's coming from with that, but I do feel like it is such a different era right now that we're playing, or that we're like seeing, and that they're playing in, specifically for Jason Tatum, who has been getting insane hate for multiple seasons at this point. These are going to be things that people are going to just continue to bring up in conversation. And while it is pretty pointless, it's still things that they're going to bring up. Dre got unk status with all that gray hair, yeah.
Just signed the biggest contract in NBA history. Oh, and by the way, your reward is sit down and don't play in the first Olympic game. There's usually always 2 to 3 guys on the Olympic team that don't play many minutes, just kind of how it shakes out.
Steve Kerr's flaws reside in his inadaptability. I do feel, yeah, it's definitely like the lack of adjustments that he actually makes. And even then, when he does make an adjustment, bro, he is sticking to that adjustment for pretty much the rest of the season. And I guess that is, again, going back to inadaptability. He's very like, no, this is like the way that we're doing it. We already know what we're doing coming in. It takes a lot for him to actually make like on the fly adjustments. Like he has to be literally in a season ending situation before he actually makes like just decisions on a dot like that.
If you're not going to play 2 guys, the 2 guys you're probably not going to play is Tyrese and Derek White. Reason being, Drew is
he's the best part of both of those players.
Obviously Steph playing, obviously Ant-Man playing. D-Book has been the X factor. So when you start looking at the guards, Drew has already won a gold medal, so he knows what it takes. He knows what has to be done. And in 2021, our team, our offense was built around Jason Tatum and Kevin Durant. And it was almost kind of set up as though like KD was passing the torch to JT. I don't think Kevin's mind was set on Paris. I don't think really anyone was looking at Paris. You're coming out of a pandemic. No one's really even thinking about it.
Agreed. I think even with the offense now, watching, trying to play the Warriors offense like it's 2016 when you don't have the personnel to do it. It's also just becoming like outdated. Like the style of play that we ran back then, and more specifically the lineups that we would put out, dog, Draymond Green playing the 5 is not some like novelty concept anymore. Like every team in the league has now adjusted to be able to deal with that. Bigs are more mobile now, 4s are more mobile, so you can't even really abuse like matchups from that perspective. Like it's just, yeah, obsolete. Lost us a whole FIBA Cup trying to run Mikal Bridges at the 5. What do you think it would take for the Warriors to win another championship with Steph? I'm not sure if it's possible under our front office, to be honest. I haven't been thinking about us winning a championship in the last year and a half. So I mean, like you say, Steve Kerr leaving or having a midlife crisis. My thing with coaching, and more specifically Steve Kerr, is like, we know that like he has just insane flaws that will never change, but at the same time, if we were to fire him, or if he were to like leave in some other way, like who is going to be his replacement? I feel like that's like actually a scary conversation to have. Who are we actually hiring in place of Steve Kerr?
In not playing him, it was wrong. We all know it was wrong. He should play. He didn't, but he should have played. What I don't like about it is, now to me it feels like covering.
He's compensating. Yeah.
Thing to where like, oh, now Joel's out of the lineup, and then today Drew didn't play. And I'm sure it's part we could rest the ankle a little bit, but it's part we gotta not play something. And quite frankly, I don't like it. Like, come up with a rotation and stick with it. These teams aren't good enough to where we're trying to match their lineup.
Yo, the way, oh my God, the way that he said that specifically, it seemed very intentional. It seemed very targeted. Holy He said, come up with a rotation, stick to it.
These teams aren't good enough to where we're trying to match their lineup.
Like, dog, really the only team where there was definitely a double me. Dog, like, really the only team where you like actually really need to be mindful of who you're playing and like what lineups you're running is Canada, because they literally are an NBA team. I'm pretty sure everybody on Team Canada's roster is in the NBA except for one guy, and they're all like basically starter level players. Nickeil Alexander-Walker, RJ Barrett, Kem Birch, Dylan Brooks, Lou Dort, Melvin Ahim, SGA, Trey Lyles, Jamal Murray, Andrew Nembhard, Kelly Olynyk, and Dwight Powell. So I feel like that's like one of the only matchups that we would have where you like actually need to be thinking about what do these rotations actually look like.
So the whole like match their lineup or, you know, this guy out of the lineup, now I disagree with it. Once you find the rotations are what they are. Let's not combat the mistake that Jason Tatum was out with. Oh, no, this guy isn't playing. Now that guy isn't. Like, what we doing? Like, just lock the lineups in. The whole switching this guy out, now this guy ain't gonna play this game. That guy, like, what we doing? JT goes from out of the starting line, out of the rotation at all, 0 minutes to the start lineup. That don't make him feel good. Because then it's like, oh, this is the story. Now I'm all of a sudden in the starting lineup.
It definitely, like, I feel like if Jason Tatum feels like it's the situation of here, damn, but in lineup form, because there's no way that you go from 0 minutes to starting the very next game after like all the backlash. Steve Kerr, I feel like it's like one of the things that we don't really talk about. He sucks at like actual player management, like ego management. Like he excels in areas as a coach. Like I'm sure, like based on like the stories that I've heard and like specifically from like people like Steph, like he's very good at like being able to reassure the team and like give the team hope. As we've seen the last couple seasons, he will draw up the most unguardable inbounds play you've ever seen in your life. But in terms of like his shortcomings, that's definitely one of them.
We're good enough to get away with it because we're just more superior than everyone. But just because we get away with it don't make it right.
He's just blessed with two of the most unselfish superstars of all time. I assume, I assume you mean Steph and KD. And even then, you can't even say that, because the first season KD was absolutely incredible. He bought into the system entirely, and obviously that was our best year. Oh no, Clay. Oh, okay. Yeah. Yeah, was. I'm getting to that demon here. So the first season that we had KD, he was basically just, he bought almost entirely into the style of play, the motion offense, and that was easily the best season of the run. And I don't think that's really up for debate. 2016-17 is probably one of the best teams that's ever existed in the history of sports. And then something changed. I want to say, like, I don't know if it was 2017 offseason, definitely 18 offseason.
Because I think last year he told Steph he could have any contract he wants too.
Yeah.
So
well, yeah, that was different. He's been here from the run, you know, the way before days. He's earned it.
And KD kind of became a little bit more like, no, I'm Kevin Durant, you know, that type of attitude, even before he actually said it in the Clipper series. Steve Kerr, instead of pushing back, he completely like, I remember when LeBron and Eric Spoelstra were kind of butting heads because LeBron wanted Eric Spoelstra fired. Editor Double D here, I'm just pausing it right here just because in the stream I explained the situation a little bit wrong. I said that LeBron directly butted heads with Eric Spoelstra, but it was actually at the time with Pat Riley, and basically just hinting at him to get rid of Eric Spoelstra and kind of convince him to start coaching the team again, to which Pat basically just said, no, like he is the coach, like get out of my office. And that was basically just the end of that, and that's just the situation that I was talking about here. But anyway, LeBron eventually came around to the culture and whatnot. Steve Kerr literally just folded, and we started running 50 ISOs for KD every single game. And that made us infinitely more like easier to guard. And that's like the reason why we were able to actually go out and beat Houston without KD, is because they were game planning for KD ISOs, which he was doing, and they had the series tied at 2 games apiece like that. Now granted, Steph wasn't playing the best, but that sort of like helps my point because he was so out of rhythm with that style of play. And then when KD goes down with injury, we go back to motion offense, and they literally just, they folded. It wasn't easy, but they still folded. And then we go on to sweep the Blazers. Like with Jacob Evans and Alfonso McKinney playing meaningful minutes in that series. Like it's so crazy. It's almost like team basketball wins games. Yeah, but of course, like I'm not trying to take away from like what KD did when he was here. It's just like a fact that there was definitely a noticeable difference in the way we were playing in 17 compared to 18 and 19. Like more so in 19. I see what Draymond's saying, and like I said, it did definitely seem like there was some other meaning behind some of what he was saying. But yeah, man, Killian Tilly.